I'm David Skinner, and this is the CRE Coach, where together you and I are lifting the hood on commercial real estate. I want to tell you the trick, or the TRIC of lease negotiation. This formula will show you how to get whatever you want when negotiating your lease. It's actually very simple. Landlords are influenced by the term length, the rental rate, the improvements, and the credit strength of the tenant. If the term, the improvements, and the credit, or TINC, are in the landlord's favor, the landlord will flex on R, or rent. If the rental rate, improvements, and credit, or RIC, are good for the landlord, they'll compromise on the term length, or T. All of these factors move in this proportion. Most landlords will give on at least one of the four, but if two or three of these factors are not in the landlord's favor, it will get much more difficult to negotiate. Let me explain. In traditional leasing arrangements, most landlords want long-term commitments and no options, and most tenants want short-term commitments with many options. This situation can change if there's a property in a hot market and the landlord plans on redeveloping in the near future. In that case, the landlord wants a short-term lease when the tenant wants, most likely, a longer term because the property is in a valuable location. But either way, the logic remains true. If the tenant agrees to the landlord's desired term, the landlord is likely to give flexibility on the other items. Rent is tricky. It's universal that tenants want to pay less and landlords want to get paid more rent. However, based on the trick of lease negotiations, tenants can have significant negotiating power in the base rental rate if they are willing to give a desirable lease term, do their own improvements to the facility, and if they have a strong credit history. As you can imagine, quote-unquote, as-is, where-is deals get most landlords excited because they don't need to come out of their own pockets or their investors' pockets for this money. However, according to the trick of lease negotiation, if a tenant is willing to execute a long-term lease, pay an at or above market rent, and has great credit, most landlords will find a way to get the money they need to do the improvements to get the tenant in the door. Now, you might ask, what kind of a landlord wants a tenant with bad credit? Well, the trick of lease negotiations would say that a tenant willing to give an obligation for a favorable lease term at a high rent on an as-is basis with no improvements could likely convince a landlord to do the deal. Granted, in a hot market, when good credit tenants are easy to find, the tenant with bad credit will struggle a lot more. However, a tenant willing to take a property with the landlord spending little to no money at a high rental rate has a decent chance of doing a deal. You want to get everything you want in a negotiation. And if you aren't getting it, remember the TRIC of lease negotiations. Term, rent, improvements, and credit history all determine the landlord's flexibility in your negotiation. Take a look at our video called Know Your Landlord, and that will help you better understand how your landlord may be motivated. I'm David Skinner, and this is the CRE Coach, where together you and I are lifting the hood on commercial real estate.